Hello and welcome to my show. My name is Addison Dayton and I have a question for you. Do you feel a great separation from home? Do you feel absolutely ill with distance? Do you have 20 bucks to spare? If you answered yes to two of those questions, boy howdy, do I have the video for you. If you answered yes to the third, call me please, I'm desperate. If you've been feeling the feelings I mentioned about 10 seconds ago, you might be suffering from the main topic of tonight. You may be afflicted by Before we discuss some solutions and strategies, let's go over what homesickness is and why I'm talking about it. Before that, though, let me change it to something a little more comfortable. Let's go over what homesickness is and why I'm talking about it, as well as why it's especially prudent to you, a new college student, because you are a new college student. If you're watching this, there's no exceptions. That would be the smart thing to do, and I am nothing if not smart. Classically, homesickness is defined as, quote, a feeling of longing for one's home during a period of absence from it, boring, unquote. Well, that is not necessarily wrong. It doesn't really capture the whole truth of what I am trying to get across. After reading a lot about the topic, I would more so describe homesickness as a pervading grief that stems from many sources, usually dealing with a lack of familiarity and security. I'm good with words. The lack of security of the familiar was a major thing mentioned in a lot of the research I did. Keep that in mind for these next parts because it sure will be relevant. It'd be weird if it wasn't relevant, if I was just going around randomly giving definitions for things. At this point, you may be asking, how does this relate to me? Why am I being singled out? And did the door just lock? Well, I will answer you mostly. And even answer questions you didn't ask. Firstly, the extent, the timing, the relevance. Hate to tell you this, but this has always been an issue. The extent is constant in all spaces and applies to most of all. Secondly, homesickness is a large problem for first-time college students. For a lot of this group, this is the first time away from home, and you are in an unfamiliar system, and you are now an adult that must take on new responsibilities. This storm of factors is why homesickness affects college students at such a high rate. Now, I just hit y'all with a lot of stuff, and I have one more punch to throw at ya. Sorry. Homesickness doesn't just suck because it makes you feel bad. It has also been shown to have a negative effect on GPA and retention of first-year college students. Just when you think it can get worse. There is some variation with the data depending on some other factors like gender, race, and if you are the first in your family to go to college. But it'll affect feelings of homesickness, and they're all bad, baby. If your goal is to graduate college, if your goal is to go to college for a few months, then drop out, then I guess homesickness does help with that. I don't know if that's really a common goal, though. Now, that's a lot of negatives, but that's only me going over and fully explaining the issue. Now we get to move on to the cool section, baby. Let's talk about some of those solutions. Hey, you want some strategies and solutions to combat homesickness? You can have all that and more for $199.99. I'm just kidding, y'all. I would never ask for money. Please. In this section, we will briefly cover some strategies for educators and parents to help their students combat homesickness. And after that, we will talk about some solutions for you. Get excited, folks. We're on the home stretch. Some strategies for administrators, educators, you get it, is to offer counseling services for counseling, organize spaces and events for socializing, and above all, treating homesickness seriously. You can't brush it aside. It's a very real, very deep feeling that a lot of students will be experiencing. Now, for you parents, send your kids money. I'm only half kidding, obviously. Don't send your kids just money, but do send little packages and things that remind them of home and their connection to the familiar. Another thing parents should do is keep in touch. But don't overdo it. Set up times to call, but don't overtext. If your kid wants to come home every weekend, maybe encourage them to do something here or wherever they're going to college. You kind of have to make sure they don't just fall back into the familiarity and safety they're already used to, because they have to have this chance to grow. Now onto the juicy stuff. Strategies and solutions for the troubled college students. There are actually a fair amount of pretty simple things you can do as a new student to combat homesickness. One such thing is going to your university's events and activities. I'm going to stand up. You don't have to go to everything, but maybe just try out some of the things you're kind of interested in. Another thing that I hope is fairly obvious is making some friends, making some pals. Forming a sort of friend family can help you feel some of that safety and security you have been missing. Strategy numero tres, a little Spanish there, is to kind of change your mindset. Instead of defining your thoughts and mind by what you have left in the past, focus on what you're doing now, what you have gained. You're an exciting new stage of your life. Let's have some fun and explore. I know I sound like a shoddy motivational speaker, but trust this is all like research advice. The final piece of advice I'll impart on you, my young Padawan, is one I encountered many times in my studies and one I can personally speak well of. You should join an organization club, obviously. Who would have thought that joining a small group, joining a group of people that hold a similar interest and participating in that interest would result in a feeling of belonging, security, and familiarity? It's a crazy concept, I know. But hear me out. Those who have joined a club and have said that it made them feel less homesick. Wow. Now that we've gone over some solution, let's move into our conclusion. I hope you've learned something, and I hope you're feeling a little better. If you didn't, let's go over everything real quick. We learned that homesickness is almost a form of grief, and that it has negative effects on your mental health as well as the GPA and retention of college students. We also learned some strategies for combating homesicknesses as college students. If you have any more questions, look it up yourself. I'm not doing any more work for you. The list of sources that you can use and I have used will be provided. That's all, folks. Good night and good luck.